Okay, hello everyone. My name is Sheyi. Thank you for being here on this call today. Like we had one last week, we are having another one this week. It's a conversation with one of our counselors. I met Juwon a couple of years ago, I think 2021 or so, on a separate project. Juwon is a product manager with over 10 years experience in different fields, including e-commerce and big companies like Apple. Juwon also runs his own company and currently has a YouTube channel that is doing quite well. Today we'll be focusing on talking about his own journey in tech, how he started and how it has been so far. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand, you can send the message, but I will be the one reading the questions and I will call your name when it's time to speak, then you can ask your question. Let's try and keep things simple. Let's keep it organized. Try not to speak until you have a question on your call. Again, remember the call is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube. So you want to keep things as simple as possible. Okay, so now hand over to Juwon, who will take us from here. Juwon.
Okay, great. Hey everyone. If you can hear me loud and clear, can you drop some likes, emojis, and stuff in the chat just so I know that I'm communicating? Okay, hi, Comfy. So today I have a few slides I wanted to share with you, but again, I want this conversation to be as interactive as possible, and it's going to be a real conversation ultimately, right? Because I think that that's what provides most value to you as people that I believe are in their tech career transition journey. So the title of my talk, if we can call it that, is how much do you want it? Because I think ultimately that's what it boils down to. And to kind of like quickly run through that, I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. Faye, thank you so much for the warm and kind introduction. But um, I started my career in tech, I'd say a little over um, 10 years. My first ever tech job, uh, I wouldn't necessarily call it tech job, but it was tech adjacent. Um, I was running social media for a fashion company called Rough and Tumble. I don't know, some of you might be familiar with it. And it was my first ever job out of college. But then it did expose me to a bunch of things. That job, I got it actually because I'm friends with the founders of Jobberman, which I believe is probably still the largest job site in Nigeria. And they knew the CEO who was hiring for the position and thought I'd be a great candidate and then referred me to the job. And after a quick interview, I got the role. And that's how I got my start. And very quickly after that, I followed that up with start founding my own tech startup, which is, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Deal Day. If you're familiar with Deal Day, yeah, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that. Let me know that. But again, that I was inspired by that and created my first e-commerce company. I sold that company in 2014, and then went on to found another tech startup that of course didn't work out eventually and left that in 2018. Now that journey led me to meeting Shay on the project that we worked on together. Went on to work at Apple, and then um, I'm currently a senior uh, product solution manager at one of the largest fintech companies in the world. One of the things that I'll say in that journey, if I'll summarize it as one thing, is that um, you own and control your own tech career. That is the biggest. I think that's the both the biggest opportunity and the biggest struggle, right? In tech. It's that if you really know if you know how to work it, if you know how to do the right things, you're gonna succeed because of you being able to leverage and grow your own career. But on the flip side, because it's not a guided path, it's going to ultimately be what you make of it. So that's both the good and bad side. And I want to ask a question because, again, like I said, I want this session to be very real and I want it to be as interactive as possible. So we're both going to make it a success. So, quick question for you guys is why do you want to work in tech? I'm going to be looking at the chat and reading out the comments. Please drop it in the chat. Why is it that, of all the different industries that you could work in, you chose tech or you chose technologies? Because of course, tech is not only limited to tech companies, right? You could work in a bank, you could work at other places. Yeah, I love that first answer from Dav, right? I need tech money. Yep, yep, money and hoodie. I'm actually wearing a hoodie for my last job. I don't know if you guys can see it. Money and hoodie. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, that's definitely a flex. Um, Tech is even though I work in and that's funny because I work in a financial technology company where a large population of that company is finance people and they still like to wear their suits. But guess what? I'll still show up to work in a hoodie. And it's so interesting that we had a town hall yesterday and our CEO or a 65-year-old guy was also wearing a hoodie. So yeah, that's a very valid reason. I have passion for tech and the money that comes with it. Love that. Love that. Wish to solve problems digitally. That's a very valid reason. I love building things. Yes, I love that. I tech allows me to bring my ideas to life. I really, really like that because um, I don't think I would have ever had the passion and belief to start a business. And I want to kind of like anchor on that. So my first startup that was an e-commerce company. Again, this was me with a few months, less than a year of experience. I decided to go start my own tech company, right? I didn't know the first thing about buying and selling stuff. I didn't have a vendor list. I worked to a lot of shops. I used to live in Lagos at this time. To go talk to them about, I'm trying to sell things online. If you give me a discount, I could sell. I didn't have a lot of success with that. But the good thing was I never had to have a store. I didn't have to have anything. We just stood up a website, started to advertise, and we started making money right away. So definitely, yes, that's a valid reason. Love building things. Um, I want to work in tech because I'm passionate about innovation and problem solving. Technology has the power to make positive impact in people's lives. Yep, yep. So yeah, these are all good responses. And the reason why I asked this question is very simple. I think your ability to really find your why, to anchor on that why is going to be the things that get you going on the days that's difficult. It's going to be the thing that gives you that desire and drive to really want to succeed and reach your goals. Again, don't forget what I said at the top. In tech, you own your own career, right? So you have to do everything within your power to make sure that that's working out exactly how you want it to be. Remote work and money. Yes, yes, yes. I like that. So what I'll say, kind of like to follow up with that is this. So when I think about tech journeys, I like to break it down into, I'll probably say three or four things. So it's the skills. Ultimately, the thing that makes you succeed in tech, unlike most other fields, right, is your skill level. They're 30-year-old vice presidents in tech, right? Senior vice presidents. Why? Because maybe they've been writing code since 18 years and they now have 12 years of experience solving very difficult problems, and that allows them to excel in that career. I mean, even look at Mark Zuckerberg, that's one of the most successful tech people. If he started a career in finance, I don't think he'll be where he is today. So that's the beautiful thing. If you have a skill and you're able to really, really grow that skill, and I know that we have even a lot of examples, right, closer to home, like the Paystack founders, right, or or Odu Eweni and a team at Piggy Tech. I think that's what it's called now. This were a lot of the times when they were starting out those companies, they were just graduating college, just building out their careers, and they've been able to do all those amazing things. The world didn't ask them, do you have this MBA or do you have this other, degree or certification or whatever? Ultimately, it was down to, can you deliver value to us? Can you help us solve a problem that, we have, whether that's payments, finance, whatever else? And if you do it really well, we're going to compensate you for it. So I think The good thing about why I'm not even going to focus too much is that I trust Shei and his team and the amazing work they can do. And you guys are already in the right place on that. Um, which brings me to the other two or three items. The other piece is networking. One of the things that also this kind of program affords you is the ability to build your network, the ability to meet other people within this group and cohort, um, and share ideas and learn about them and connect with them, build things together while in the program, but even outside of the program, right? These are going to be your first set connections. Um, and the other part is building a resume and LinkedIn. I think those are also very important. How you um, show this, because ultimately, before anybody gets to know you and hear your story, what they're probably likely going to see is you in a piece of paper. That's your resume. And then the profile page on LinkedIn, which is the world's number one professional network, and how you represent yourself there. You might be the best developer in this cohort or designer or whatever, but somebody who is able to communicate their value better will get opportunities before you. Oftentimes, the people who get the most opportunities are not always the people who are the most qualified or the most skilled rather. It is the people who are willing to show up and say, hey, choose me, right? I don't know how many of us are religious here, but I think there's a line in the Bible that says, here I am, send me. In this case, here I am, send me is how are you putting yourself out there, right? And I'm going to touch on a few of those things as we go along. And then last but not least is interviewing. Interviewing is one of the most critical skills. And I know, like, especially for a lot of people who are probably developers, you chose that role because maybe you don't even like to interface and interact with people. But you have to learn to do that really, really well um, if you want to succeed in tech. And again, I'm probably going to take about another 10, 15 minutes, again, because I want this to be interactive and then we'll go to asking questions, chatting, just having as much fun as we can. So I have a question for you guys. Are you building your network? If you are, leave a like, leave a like, leave a thumbs up. Um, just tell me you are, and if you're not, tell me why you're not. I'm kidding. Anyway, so since some of you are already networking, I believe, can you tell me in the chat what you're doing to network? Can you tell me in the chat what you're doing to network? Like this XYZ is how I'm building my network. Okay. Who are the best people to build your network with, peers or seniors? That's an answer for later. For now, you guys are the ones telling me how to build a network. Dav says, guess we've all been shy at the Node.js team. Hmm. Okay, guys, tell me, I'm waiting. How are you networking? What are you doing today? Adama says, learn well, build network while providing solutions. Okay, we have a interfacing with guys in the build my portfolio and making my GitHub robust. Okay, Comfy, all of those are good. I think interfacing with guys in tech can be better. I don't really know what that means. So if you can explain a bit further. Meetup, what kind of meetup, Candy? Can you provide a little more light on that? Talk about what I'm learning and looking for mentors via workspace. Okay. Honestly, I've just been getting my inspiration from teams and people, and I know I have more experience. Okay. Working on team projects, connecting on LinkedIn. That, yes, connecting on LinkedIn, that's a really, really powerful one. Yes. Okay. I'm going to share something that I tweeted that resonated with a lot of people. Joining online and physical classes, great. Belong to tech community on WhatsApp and rub minds. Yes, that's a great one. So yeah, keep it coming. But I'm going to share this next slide. I shared this tweet and it resonated with a lot of people. It says, in tech, the phrase "you are one connection away from being able to change your life" is so true. I'm going to share a story from a program that we used to run a few years ago. Um, This guy graduated that program. We had just this completion certificates that we shared there. And he got his certificate, posted it on LinkedIn, and someone reached out to him. Somebody reached out to so somebody within his connection liked it, which of course spread it a bit more. And somebody reached out to him and said, and somebody reached out to that connection and said, "Hey, this guy that you liked his certificate, do you know him personally?" And the person says, "Oh, yes, yes, I do." And it said, "Oh, is he a cool guy?" It says, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, he is." And then the next thing this person says is, um, "Can you introduce us? Because we have a full dev team that's offshore, but we're hoping to bring that in-house. And we're hoping that he can work with them, learn from them, and hopefully one day take over." So he got that job not because he built a resume. He got that job not because because he had a LinkedIn profile, but he got that job because he already had an existing network that saw that certificate, liked it, shared it to their wider network, and was able to connect with opportunities that way. I don't know what the stats is for Nigeria, but in the US, somewhere between like 40 to 60% of jobs don't even make it to job websites. Most of those jobs go to people who know people. For example, I had that on my team at Apple, I had that very same experience. We're looking for a new program manager and we're looking to hire someone. And they told us on the team, if you have any friends who are program managers who are looking for a role and they would like to work at Apple, let us know. And of course, I reached out within my network. Everybody else reached out within their network. Of course, my guy didn't get picked, but ultimately the person who got hired came from that network. That job was never posted. So this is the power of networking. Because again, if you really think about it, right, companies spend a lot of money, right, trying to hire the right candidate. So they'll put out a job ad. Sometimes they pay agencies to go look for people. They have to take time out of their days and get people who are supposed to actually be working on projects, doing all those things, to sit in interviews and talk to people, right? Cost them a lot of time and money. So oftentimes when you already have an inroad, there's a level of trust that comes with that, right? Because oftentimes that person who already works there has already built a relationship, has built a connection. They know this person is a good person. So when they vouch for someone, it doesn't mean that that person is going to be a good person too, but at the very least, by association, they believe that for these two people to be friends, for this person to count this person worthy to come work at our company, then there has to be some familiarity there. Also, it's that you can't know everyone, right? So the more people you know, the more people you have access to ultimately. So that's the power of building a network. And you know what's interesting? When I joined this call, I believe somebody on this call already sent me a LinkedIn request. Let me find the name. Or maybe I'll keep the person anonymous. But as soon as I joined the call, the person saw my name and sent me a LinkedIn request. So how we start off this networking is go to my LinkedIn. This is my LinkedIn profile and send me a LinkedIn request. But this is not just about me. You should look to connect with as many people in tech as possible. It costs you absolutely nothing. Find people that you're interested in. Maybe they post about Node.js or product management or UX design and connect with as many of them as possible. That's a really, really, really great way. I shared a tweet. I wish I copied it and shared it here. It's like, make a plan in 3 months to connect with um, 600 people. If you add just 3 people every single day on LinkedIn, by in 3 months, which is 90 days, you'll have 600 new connections. Of course, not everybody you add will add you back, right? But let's say you add 10 people every single day, you're going to get to 600 in no time. So again, to start off that challenge, add me. I think this QR code should work. If you scan it on your phone, it should work. But also you can just go to linkedin.com/n/. Of course, that's not the right link. I just put that there. But if you do /Juwon IO, you'll find me or my full name. Anyway, moving on. I would also say one thing that's very, very important. I want to ask you guys, how did you guys find out about this program? And why did you choose to go into this program? Let me know in the chat. Guys, let's keep the energy up. Let me know in the chat. How did you find out about the program and why did you choose to join it? Was it Twitter? Was it LinkedIn? Through a friend? I heard from, yes, went through a friend, ingressed for good, found it out from a relative, heard on Twitter, actually, he's a VIP, so I joined. Okay, great. Participated in previous one, followed the referrals. A friend told me about it from a friend, like a mentor, a male friend through a friend, and then I work with a lady at a restaurant, asked for opportunities. She sent me the link, they sent me a mail, a friend through LinkedIn, through my friend. Great, 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 great. So there are 2 points that you guys are actually proving here for me today, right? It's that networking and connections are so important because a lot of people are saying my friend and brother. And because of course there are a lot of programs online, a lot of legitimate ones and the ones that are not so great, right? The fact that somebody tells you about it takes away a level of skepticism and doubt, right? And that's again, like we're talking about earlier, that wow, a friend from South Sudan introduced me to Zurich. She had a program last year. That is amazing. So people referring you to things always helps, right? A lot of majority of the people who say they came to this program came because somebody told them about it. That's very powerful. And that's one thing. So people are also outside of networking for opportunities. One of the biggest things about technology is knowledge. Knowledge is so important. Of course, you guys are doing it in the formal way now, going through programs, learning courses, showing up to these kind of meetings. But there's so much knowledge that exists out there. Last year, I started a live stream that I host every week that I bring professionals from across the industry, people who work at Microsoft, Google, Meta, um, Adobe, just all the major top tech companies in the world that you can think about. And they work in different roles, from recruiting to software to UX design to basically almost all roles, product, program, cybersecurity, whatever is out there. I've had people on my live stream talking about it. And what I learned is very, very important. For example, people will tell you about strategies to find jobs. They'll tell you about strategies to find or at least things that help them, right? And I'll share a few of those stories. So um, there was one person who came on my live stream who talked about the fact that he retired last year. His name is Kelsey Hightower. He's a top software engineering voice and software advocate. He founded the first Kubernetes, co-founded the first Kubernetes conference in the world called KubeCon, and he speaks at all the top tech conferences. But he got his start by basically working for a he got his start by basically working for a cable company and going to fix people's routers and things like that. And when people share those stories like that, I think you'll find a level of I'm looking for the right word now. You guys are likely to find a level of knowledge and information that's not generally out there. Because if I use myself as an example, one of the biggest misconceptions I came into tech with was that I had to be a software developer to be in tech. Maybe aside from a few lines of HTML, right? Um, that's probably as far as I can go. And I've had a career in this industry for over a decade now. So that tells you guys something, right? It's that there's so much information out there that you don't know, and your ability to unlock that is going to be the biggest thing that contributes to that career success. Which brings me to my next point. So if you guys want to find out more from these different experts that I talk about, again, subscribe to my YouTube channel. There are a lot that I think we're already at a 21st or 22nd episode yesterday. You're gonna find advice from different people. I also had someone who's probably popular in the Nigerian tech Twitter community. I read Dev. She drops a lot of gems, right? Even how to deal with struggle, because again, after learning, trying to find that job is going to be almost every phase, right? Learning is a struggle, finding the job is a struggle, Even, acclimatizing in the role is a struggle. But many people have gone through that struggle before. And, if you ever feel down, if you ever need inspiration, I think go watch some of those episodes and I think you're going to be inspired. Which brings me to my next point. Information. Information is very, 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 very key in the tech career. Again, ties back to the last thing. I shared this tweet recently about five things, five things you need to know if you're transitioning into tech. Number one is, of course, if you have any kind of job before, let's say you're a teacher and you're trying to transition into tech, you already work with people, right? You already have soft skills. You know how to explain ideas. You might work in tech sales. You might work in, I don't know if customer success is very popular in Nigeria or account management, right? There are so many roles. Yeah, there's definitely account management in, because I work with account managers at Jumia, right? There's so many opportunities. Oh, shout out to Jonathan. He said he subscribed to my channel a long time ago. Great, great, great. Yeah, I definitely want to see more people do that. Again, learn the technologies. Again, you don't have to worry about that. I imagine if you're in this program, you're already learning the in-demand technology. And I talked about this too. Become friends with people in tech. It's very important. Important. Again, I hope you've chosen the right path in this program, right? Because again, I see a lot of people who are not technically savvy, or they don't even like sitting in front of computers and writing code every single hour of the day or debugging things. And then they want to go become a software engineer because they think there's money there. That's a big mistake, right? If you choose the things that come to you naturally, right? So, for example, you like to talk, go be a project manager, go be a lot of those things. What that means is that even when you are not yet ready, even when your skill isn't there yet, because you're working on natural talent and natural desire, it just puts you higher in that level of being able to succeed. So do the things that you're naturally good at. And once you found those things, choose that path and stick to it. And last but not least in this list is don't give up. Um, Tech careers can be very challenging. Um, and I'll probably use my kind of like personal story to wrap this up before we go into questions. Again, as I mentioned at the top of this call, I've been in tech for a little over, I'll probably say 12 years now. This is probably my 12th year. And I've been at a company like Apple. And recently I was looking for a new role. I was in the market for a new role. I did a lot of interviews at so many companies and only just started my new role very recently, right? What does that tell you? Even someone without those many years of experience, it's never easy. And I have, of course, we're in one of the toughest job markets in tech that has ever been, basically. But again, people are still making it happen. I have friends who have kind of like gone through similar journeys, and they are also kind of like landing on their feet now. So if you don't give up, there's so many opportunity ahead of you. Um, and of course, one of the places where I chat a lot is Twitter. So if you guys are interested in that, connect with me on Twitter as well. I think that's kind of like my presentation for this morning. If you got value from it, can I see thumbs up in the chat, thumbs up reactions. Let's go. And if you have any questions, I'm going to start taking them now. So yeah, I don't know if you had anything that you wanted to drop or share before we go into the Q&A.
Yeah, thank you for that, Juwon. That was great. I have a couple of additions based on what you've said, just to
Yeah.
remind people what you've said. Um, One of the things that we have tried to talk about in the classes that we've had is to remember to put yourself out there. There's there's no other way for people to know what you do and that you're good at it or that you're bad at it, to be fair, if you don't put yourself out there. Um, when you design something, even though we don't ask you to do it, put it out there, get feedback from senior people who have gone ahead of you, get feedback from those who are trying to employ, who knows what they're looking for. Get comment from those people, post these things wherever you can, put it out there. There is no point in having them on your laptop where it does nothing for you. Okay. And that also make sure that you put your best into everything that you do in the training, either an assignment or a project, so that you can be confident enough to put it out there and expect feedback. And when the feedback comes, don't be too quick to give up, like Juwon already said. Don't just quit because somebody said they don't like your design or they don't like your face. Somebody has said that to me before, which is fine. Somebody said I look like an emoji. So don't let that discourage you from continuing your journey in learning. Also, you have to be
Point five.
worthy of referrals. Okay. Like Juwon already said, somebody has to be confident enough to refer you to a job in their own company. They have to say, I know this person that can do this job and be confident enough because you've represented yourself well, you've created your brand properly online and every other place, and you are not involved in things that can cost them harm in future. Nobody wants to recommend it to a company like Apple if they know you've stolen like 5 naira from somebody before and ran away with it. So you have to represent yourself properly so that you are worthy of referrals from people in your network. So it's not about networking alone. You have to properly present yourself so that these people can speak for you when you're not there. Finally, from what you have said, it's not required that you write a code or that you design before you can work in tech. Juwon is a project manager and he's product manager and he has been for a long time. And like you mentioned, he's not even written much code except for a couple of lines of HTML. So if you are here in the program, you've already decided that, look, this is not for me. I just can't cope with this coding thing. I can't cope with this design thing. You are not, inferior to anybody. You've just made your decision. You found what doesn't work for you. Now you can go ahead to explore other options that might work for you. So don't quit tech because you can't write code or you can't design. You can still keep learning and keep growing, and you can still make it in tech even without being a coder. Okay. Yeah, those are the additions I had to what June has said. Uh,
That's very powerful. And as you said that very quickly, there were a few things that also came to my mind because there are so many vague things that people say, and I'm also a little guilty of it when you talk about networking, right? So I'll give you actual practical tips, and I think I've given one, right? Connect with people. That's very important, right? So let's say it's Arit or Danny Dev, or there's a million and one people who share tech content, senior people who have already dedicated a lot of their time, but there are even less known people, right, in your industry. And how do you build a genuine network, right? A lot of people think it's like, oh, I'll slide in their DM and say, please, can you mentor me? That is the wrongest thing you can ever say to anyone. And I'll tell you why. When you say that, you've already seen this person and said, first of all, a lot of senior people earn a lot of money, and their time is what they spend in you making that money. So it means that every single time that you are asking for their time, even though it feels intangible, it's still a very tangible resource. Ask yourself, what have you given this person that will make them give you stuff back? And there are very simple things that you can give even when you've not blown in tech, right? So, for example, let's say you've added 10 people or 100 people on your LinkedIn or Twitter. If they say something that resonates with you, comment, wow, this is great advice. I'm going to try it, right? Like their posts. Those things cost you absolutely nothing. But you know what it does? If somebody says, oh, I'm doing something and you support them, they say a post, it resonates with you, you like it. If they say, oh, maybe I'm doing this fundraiser, whatever it might be, right? If it's a like, retweet, whatever you can give in terms of recognition, because it's not even really given, right? Because if you think about it, if they're sharing something that resonates, it resonates. But you taking time to do what most people won't even do already shows that you're willing to learn and you're willing to engage. So when you go and ask for things, and for example, I even like to do soft asks. Like instead of asking for a meeting, ask a quick question. So they share something, or even under their post, hey, and this is what I'll add with questions. Only ask questions that professionals can answer. Don't say, for example, what are some good certifications on data analytics? Don't ever ask a question that you can Google by yourself. But you can say, for example, oh, I've done some research on Python and R, right? As data analytics languages. And I'm torn because Python is this and R is that, right? That person knows that you're not wasting their time. They know you've done the research and they're going to be more and more willing to help you. Why? Because you're asking a question that only them can answer. And when you then do that, when you ask for a piece of advice that's very insightful like that, then make sure, don't ever ask for something that you don't action. Come back in a month, come back in 2 months, come back in 3 months and said, oh, wow, thank you so much. I was actually able to complete this R course or whatever I did this. Yeah, your advice really helped me. It's impossible for you to go ask that person for something else and then they say no. The challenge is a lot of people want to just get there from beginning, right? And it doesn't, there's no relationship where it works that way, right? And we all know that, right? Somebody was saying something about their wife recommended them. They didn't meet their wife the first day, for example, and say, will you marry me? No, you have to kind of like build it up. So even in like human relationships, we understand that concept. Tech relationships are no different. And so you touched on something that I think is very important because I think a lot of people mentioned it. So when you've built that network, it's not just important to only like, share, connect, give value wherever you can, right? Or let's say, so for example, somebody says, "Oh, I'm trying to host something. Is this something that you can help out with?" But after you've done all that, because you might be a really cool person that I like, but if I don't really see you doing the work, I I like you. I see you on my timeline. You're a cool person, but I also don't see your work. There's a guy that I had. His name is Chris Levinstein. I think he just got a new job. He's on Twitter. Um, Actually, I don't know if you can find him. His name is Data Bunny LLC. And maybe share it. I want you guys to go to his page for an example of somebody who shares. In fact, you don't have to design something to share. That is how radical that idea is. Do you have a line of code? For example, let's say today you were trying to debug a code and it threw you off and you spent 5 hours doing it. But then later, maybe you realize it was a comma or a syntax or something that was wrong. Take a screenshot and share it. Let me tell you what that does. Don Jazzy said something, I think it's Data Bunny LLC. So DATA BUNNY and LLC, like limited liability company, right? At Data Bunny LLC. He shares so much. The funny thing is, let me give you something that's very radical. Is this guy great at his job? Well, I've had him on my podcast, so I know he's great, right? And the kind of things he's talked about, I know he's a phenomenal guy. But nobody can know if he's really good at his job. I don't know what his coworkers think of him, right? But the thing is this, if I see someone like that who's talking constantly every single day about what they're doing, the problems they're encountering, things like that, it's not possible for me to think about, oh, this guy's a network engineer. I'm telling you, if you say network engineer, this guy's the first person that comes to my mind. Why? Because he shares every single day. I mean, if you follow him, he will accept. He's always going private. So, because sometimes I think he's currently interviewing for a company, so he's sharing that information, and he probably doesn't want his company to know whatever. So he privates and it goes off of both every single time. If you follow him, you'll see it. But again, it will be a really good way for you guys to get inspiration on how to share your progress, because it's super, super important that you do that. It helps the people. I'm just going to end on this note. I think it was Don Jazzy that said it at some point, right? That you claim to be an artist, right? But when I land on your page, I just see 3 photos of you posting up and acting cool. I completely lose interest. Because you know why? Of course, you might not have the budget to blow your music. You might not have, but if you can't even use your page, which is your free resource, to promote, so you record the music, post it on the page. Let me see you dancing to it. Let me see something. At the very minimum, because let me tell you why that's important. Of course, maybe it doesn't necessarily translate in this instance, but one of the things that labels, I don't know how many people saw like how Rema rules, right? He started doing these freestyles in the car and things like that, and then a lot of people followed him because of how raw the talent was, and then labels have to promote artists, right? They have to figure out creative ways to get people to like them. So if you're already doing that, when they bring their infrastructure, their budget, their connections to do it for you, it moves a lot faster. Whereas, for example, imagine an artist that's they don't even have any followers. Nobody knows them, right? And they are so concerned about image. Imagine when the budget comes, they'll be picky. They'll say, no, I can't post that. It doesn't go with my brand. And no label wants to deal with that. So ultimately, they will most likely even pass before they want to care about like how good you are. It's probably not as drastic in tech, but I think it's still the same concept. if you do the hard work of putting yourself out there, of already being conscious of, I'm going to share my work, I'm going to do this. If a recruiter from a company is looking at your profile or somebody else's, and when they look at it, they've seen like 5 posts of you debugging a code, sharing a project, congratulating a friend who just launched something, talking about your demo day. Like everything about your page is just this tech stuff. Even if you don't have all the right skills yet that they need, that demonstrates this person is willing to learn. This person is passionate. People talk about passionate. You can't tell me you're passionate if your page isn't filled with what you're doing, right? So there are so many things that you communicate with just that single act of constantly sharing, right? Your work. I think we're gonna leave it there. We kind of like went down for a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Um, we still have a couple of, we have like 30 minutes, so it's okay.
Okay, okay.
I wanted to also share this based on the example you gave. My first experience interviewing with companies like this company was Amazon in my own case. I did one if a couple of years ago. I was learning some new concept of advanced JavaScript. So I did a course on plural sites and I did quite well. I posted the certificates on LinkedIn and almost immediately the recruiter from Amazon reached out to me and said, we are looking for people like you who know JavaScript quite well. I was like, look, I don't know JavaScript well, I just did a course. So he said, no problem, just send me your CV. I gave me the interview, passed the first stage. Second stage, I didn't pass it. But my point is, I got that opportunity to do that interview because I did a single course on plural site on JavaScript concept. Okay, so again, put yourself
And
out,
then you shared it, and
and
then
then
you
I shared
shared
it.
it.
Yeah, I
Because if
didn't do
you,
the
even
course.
if you had that good grade and you
Yeah,
never shared it,
nobody will know about it. Yeah, yeah. And people sometimes people don't even check your CVs when you apply for jobs. Okay, this is just the truth. I have somebody who's currently applying for jobs. People don't sometimes look at your CV. They just go to your page and see if you have anything you've announced you're proud of, you're happy about, and they just go with that. Sometimes they also just check your page. Recruiters go on LinkedIn and do some random searches for people who are doing what they like before they request for your CV. So again, you have to learn to put yourself out there. It's not enough to learn the skills or to learn the language or to learn the tools when nobody knows that you can use them. Okay, right. So I think we're ready for questions. If you have a question, you can
yes,
either send it in chat or raise your hand and I'll call you.
to ask
But I
them,
do have a
yeah.
couple of questions already sent to me before this.
Oh, okay. And I even had one in the chat too that I just want to quickly take before we go into that.
Yeah,
So,
let's go with that.
somebody was asking about, should you network with your peers or network with seniors? I think you should network up and down the ladder. Network with every single person you can find. Because again, think about it. This opportunity that you're in right now, most of you didn't get here because of somebody. Maybe they were in tech, I don't know. But many of them may not already be in tech. So, in fact, work with this mindset. Every single human is valuable, right? Of course, you can't meet everyone. You also have to kind of like be conscious with how you manage your time. But it's important that you don't discard. Think about it like this. The people who are on your level are going to be able to provide you unique insight on, oh, Amazon is doing like this recruitment in Nigeria because guess what? They are at that level. They are also on the same level with you. So they will have insight on the things on your level. Or, oh, this person is giving a scholarship, right? Somebody who is 10 years in their career may not know that Ingressive for Good is doing any specific initiative, but somebody on your level will. So network with them for that. They will also help you learn. For example, there might be a new technology that you're not even aware of. They'll help you learn that. Senior people will open you up to opportunities. They will teach you things that maybe your mates are not privy to. So at the end of the day, I guess long and short is network up and down the ladder.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And I guess the person asked the question because sometimes we confuse the concept of professional networking with making friends. When you network professionally, you are only sort of putting yourself in this person's mind when they need or when they have opportunities for you. It's not a matter of, making friends or being parties or parties online. It's just putting yourself in front of this person in case you have an opportunity for them or they have an opportunity for you. That's basically what it means to network. And yeah, you can go up and down or in and just make sure you keep connecting to people. Right. So,
I will quickly, sorry, I wanted to quickly share this last one. So, of course, I'm currently in New York and I was at this Tunde Onakoya's record-breaking um, event. So many people showed up, right? Adekunle Gold, Davido. If you think about like their fame and popularity, they have way more than him, but they are also able to recognize the moment, right? And that's the thing. It's like going there, showing because they're also in the vicinity is super important. And I think you have to even kind of like look at opportunities that way. Take every opportunity to connect. Yeah.
okay, yeah. So finally, going to question now. Um, this question goes a bit far back from the beginning of the call. For someone with so little experience in tech, as at when you started your first company, what made you decide to start your own company? Why not just look for another job or something like that?
I actually was, in fact, my boss at my first job never wanted me to leave. I was still thinking about that while kind of like preparing for this. Like maybe I made the right decision or not. I don't know. But this is it. Tech, like entrepreneurship, which is almost like two very difficult things, similar things that I did at the same time. Um, I think you're never ready. And I think it kind of like ties back to this other question that I'm going to try to answer with it. Is that I saw a very unique opportunities again. So I was friends with the founders of Jobberman who went to the same university as I did. They finished school. I think some of them had either been entrepreneurs or never had a job or had a quick internship. And they founded a company that went on to raise $1 million, right? This was way before the time of what's it called? This was way before the time of even like Paystack and the second wave of everybody raising hundreds of millions of dollars and etc. So that really inspired me, right? And I thought I'm also like an entrepreneurial person and I like technology. And I think I can do what they're doing. Of course, one of them was also like one of my investors in the business. So also having that guidance and mentorship was very important. And then to the point, to the question that Sandy asked, I'm just going to quickly answer that. At what point should someone start applying for a job in their tech journey? I think if you've even learned anything for like a month, like every single one of you should be applying to jobs now. See, you there's something very counterintuitive. You think you're still in the journey, right? And by the time you get to the end, you're gonna be ready for the job. The challenge is you might be ready for the job in truth, I don't know, but you are not ready for the job search. The advantage of applying and to jobs now, even when you're not fully at the end of the cycle, is that you're going to be learning things. For example, you apply to 100 jobs, right, with the skills that you already have, even though the resume might not be great. You start to see things in your resume and in the job description that you need to change. So by the time you actually graduate or you finish this program, you've already done a lot of growth and advancement because getting a job is a job. So you also have to build experience in that. So every single one of you that's not already applying by today should already start applying. The goal is for you to learn as much. So, for example, let's say you send out 100 resumes or you apply to 100 jobs. Let's say you get 2 interviews of people who just want to take a chance on you. Guess what? By the time you understand that interviewing, because I said it, interviewing itself, you have to get better at it. So that's why you have to start applying literally today.
I would say, I don't know if everybody got this, but Pamela also said the same thing last week, where she said, you just have to learn how to apply for jobs. You have to learn on the job of how to apply for jobs. And Juwon said something now that is just brilliant. He said, you can complete the training and not be ready for job search. So you have to start doing that now. You have to start applying for jobs now. The process of applying for jobs, you learn from the feedback. Some of them you don't even get feedback at all. You learn from your mistakes. You learn how to apply for jobs. You see a lot of job description. You understand the things that are currently trending in the industry. You can then channel your skills training towards those things and start applying for those jobs. But you can only learn those things if you start doing it, as soon as possible. Now, if possible. Okay, another question. Um, okay, building a LinkedIn profile. As a tech founder, what would you see on my LinkedIn profile that will attract me to you if you are recruiting? What are the examples of things?
So,
Yeah.
so I would say definitely having a complete LinkedIn profile, and there's a ton of YouTube videos, so I don't need to go into it. Of course, your title has to be done properly. You have to list out the roles. If you have any certifications, put them on your page. Have a good, nice, professional picture. Doesn't it can even be like a hoodie shirt like this, right? So it doesn't have to be anything this thing, but is it showing your face? Is it nice? Is it taking on a it's not grainy? Just a nice photo that I can see who I'm going to be chatting with. I think that's all regular people will care. Most of you are entry level to tech. Maybe you already have experience somewhere else, so it doesn't really matter. But again, list those experiences, and if there are things that like skills like communication, collaboration, list them there. But again, those projects and things that you worked on, I think that's really what will make a difference. For somebody who's entry level or who is just transitioning or breaking into tech, I don't think people are looking for too much instead in form of what you're able to do right away. And I'll give an example. So when I was building my last startup, Buzzline, we actually hired two people who had finished Zuri. Funny thing is, my co-founder founded a different company. I don't know, you guys might have heard of it. It's called Lobby AI and Diverse. They hire a lot of talent from Nigeria for US companies. And two of those engineers still work at Diverse today. So since we had them, they've been working with my friend and his companies for the last, I'll probably say 3 years. The beauty of that was when we hired them, we actually had more senior engineers that we interviewed and we didn't want to work with. What we liked about them was their willingness and ability to learn. Of course, they demonstrated that by a lot of the fundamentals that they understood. And they also demonstrated it on the job with their willingness. And both of them are now very senior engineers in that 3 years because my co-founder at the time was a principal engineer at Meta. So they were sponges who were just learning so much. But we had looked at their profile, we had looked at their resume. They were already ready in terms of the technologies they knew, how they talked about the projects. For example, like if you're building a project, focus on, okay, so of course, touch on the technologies you use, but focus on also the problem that it solves. I think a good problem understanding is what sets great UX, UI designers, great engineers from the rest. Is that, oh, it's not like I'm just building an interface, right? I understand that, oh, customers who, like this is an e-commerce website, the average customer spends, let's say, 2 minutes before making a decision. So we want to build for quick scalability of this thing to find all the right information to this thing. So if you list those kind of things in a resume, somebody will think this person might not know everything technology wise, but at least from a business understanding perspective, from a user standpoint, they already get what we're looking for. And I think highlighting those kind of things through projects, everything like that on your resume will make me more inspired to want to talk to this person because they seem really interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hopefully that answers that question. I wanted to go back to something you mentioned earlier. Again, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand or send a message. Where you mentioned, I know I wrote it down. Just a minute. I see your hand. I just need to find. Okay, I'll find it. I'll call the person then. Oh, the hand is gone. Nice. Uh, yeah, I can't find the message. Right.
So if you still have any questions, bring them. I like curious. Again, I said let's have as many let's make this as interactive as possible. And if you don't have any questions, just drop some thumbs up, fire emojis, whatever. But somebody says I can see you're a music lover. For all this, your analysis example, yeah, Charlie. Yeah, I love music. That's where I actually got my start. But that's a story for another day. I think Shadrach
Yeah.
has his hand
Yeah.
up.
Sorry, I eventually found what I was looking for. Shadrach, please go ahead. Then I will talk about what I was looking for.
Okay, good evening. This is Juwon.
Yes.
Thank you so much for this wonderful section. I've really learned a lot. I've taken time for some time now to follow your programs on YouTube, and that's been really amazing. So, but my question goes this way. Um, for over a year plus now, I've been trying to, navigate the world of tech, but it seems very challenging. where to pitch my tent from. You know, on a daily basis, new technologies arises, and having confusion. Which one should I go for? Which one is really worthwhile for what I want to go into? My passion is to become a control system engineer who could actually use software to control hardware systems under electrical power system. So, but I don't really know how to dive into tech. At the long run, I will not, deviate from the passion or the goal I have for life. So I just want to ask you, as a techie, do you at some point have to forfeit your goal in order to fit in into where you are now, or this has been your initial goal when you were growing up? And also concerning making connections, I find it difficult to make connections anyway because I've not really pitched my thing, just as I said initially. So how do we get over this kind of situation? All right. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, I really love those two questions. So there's something called ikigai. It's a Japanese concept, right? And what it means in a nutshell is this three pathways of one, right, what you're good at, what you love, and what can make you money. I think if you're able to line up those three things in life, you're going to succeed at anything. It doesn't even matter if it's tech or not, right? Being able to use software to control hardware, of course, understanding the Nigerian system is going to be a little challenging, right? There's not a lot of successful hardware companies out there building many things. So you might have to move to a different country or location to be able to really do that. The thing that I'll say though is in the first moment, there's still something that you can do right now today, right? For example, becoming really good at software, even if it's just software controlling software, that builds you that platform to be able to go do that in the future. And sometimes, because right now, regardless of whatever your passions may be, it's still, let me think about it this way, right? Think about when we were younger, all of us wanted to either be pilots, doctors, lawyers, aeronautic engineers, and those type of things, right? If that was you, drop a thumbs up in the comments. We didn't have a lot of context on life. For example, we didn't know how challenging physics was. We didn't know all of these things that we thought we knew, right? So ultimately, the more we grew up and gained more context, we actually realized we didn't care about being pilots as much. Or maybe it was just that we failed so much at physics, you're like, you know what, I'll take a pass. But the point is still that you don't even know enough. So do what you can now, in this moment, just to get that one step further. Don't let that final dream. And I'll give a good example before I kind of like wrap that up very quickly. There's a guy who was on my live stream yesterday. He went to school for marketing. He went into school for consume something about psychology, user psychology or something like that. Really wanted to design ads and all those kind of things so badly. But guess what? He's now doing sales at Adobe. He never wanted to do sales, but guess what? Every single job he kept getting was sales. So sometimes you don't necessarily, and now he's not comfortable in that vision. Because if he wants to go to marketing, then guess what? He has to start from the beginning. And he realized he probably doesn't even care about marketing as much. Now his biggest passion is actually helping other people live their dream. And guess what? His sales career is what gives him the financial freedom, because on top of the salary, it makes very huge commissions. And that's a funny thing sometimes. It's like we think that we have this vision of what we really want to do. But sometimes we actually care about other things that maybe it's our spirit, maybe it's God, I don't know, whatever you believe in, that actually pushes us in that different direction. So I think it's important to kind of like just keep that in perspective. And I think your second question about networking, I don't know if you heard when I said it. Again, you don't have to like a lot of people. What do you have to do? Go on LinkedIn, search software engineer, search data analyst. Add every single person you see on that list, right? Maybe two of them will accept your ad request. It doesn't matter. Then tomorrow do it again. Then next tomorrow do it again. And guess what? When they make a post, say, good job. Every single person can do that. I don't care if you're introverted or extroverted. You can add people and you can comment and like their posts. That's all it takes, at least at the very beginning, and sharing posts of yourself. oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Because guess what? When you like their post, when you also post something about your progress and your journey and what you're struggling with, guess what? They would also reciprocate. And before you know it, if you like somebody's post 5, 10 to 20 times, they will, if they see your name in a crowded place, they'll be able to pick it out. You know why? Because every single time that they shared something, that name is next to it. That's the power.
Okay, yeah, that's actually what I wanted to share about also in terms of networking. A lot of people claim to be introverts and they feel like, oh, networking is just difficult for me because I'm an introvert. I feel like that is no longer an excuse now because everything is mostly online now. So you don't have to be an extrovert before you can really reach out to people anymore. The suggestion that Juwon gave is very good. Search the people that you feel like are doing what you want to do or what you're learning to do now and follow them. Look at their profile, just send them a request and connect with them. Another thing you can do, somebody was saying, how do I even start to network? Another thing you can do is to be willing to help your peers at the moment. People that have problem with their assignment, you're willing to help them. They remember you help them with their assignment. Those people will never forget you because you're now part of their learning journey and they are growing in their career. They will have opportunities in future. They remember somebody helped me while I was learning and they will come back to you. So those are some of the ways you can start growing your number one confidence in networking and also grow your network gradually. Hopefully that answers your question. So John, we have a question from somebody here who said, I'm an art student who doesn't know anything in math. Uh, can I know coding very well without proper knowledge of maths? The short answer is yes, but I'll let John answer the rest.
Yeah, I think you've answered it. It's yes. But I think the question you're asking is a little deeper than that. Because I don't think coding itself is even like a direct math, whatever, right? It's not math. It's mostly syntax and things like that. I think if you understand the logic, you can always transfer it even between multiple different languages. The challenge is more like, and there are so many, even like, of course, I know that they have a good program here, but there are so many supplementary, like there's one, I think it's Solo Learn or whatever, that's literally an app that says press this, do this, do that. So you can learn the challenges. For example, and I'll use myself again. I knew I was never patient enough to learn every single syntax, to learn every single language. There are people like that. And if you're an art student like me, because I'm also an art student, I majored in history in college. I know that I could never, it wasn't that I couldn't do it. When I started to do HTML, I was getting it. But I knew, for example, like we can do this call for another 3 hours and I'll be here, even though I have a terrible headache, right? I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy giving value. I enjoy giving knowledge. This is what I love. So guess what? Even though I also get bored when I have to go do like prioritization or whatever, because I know it helps me become better product manager, I will learn those concepts more easily than I will learn syntax. Why? Because it allows me to do what I already enjoy doing. In fact, just to give you that same example, the only other thing that I would say is this. There are roles, for example. So funny story. In my current role, so I'm typically a product manager, but in my current role, I'm a solution architect, right? I've never done solution architecture in my life. But they hired me one because I'd worked on a data team in my previous role, and I was also Google Cloud certified. And naturally, because I saw that product management for just regular business product managers was getting crowded, I wanted to move a bit more to the TPM side, technical product management, which I've already been doing. And now, for example, in like last role, even in my last company I was building, um, we used SQL, both regular SQL and NoSQL databases, right? But I didn't really know what those meant. But guess what? I just started a data course. And now the explanation made so much sense to me because at my new job, they're talking about tables a lot, right? And I'm wondering, what are tables? How do this work? And in this course I'm taking, it explained it to me. So it wasn't that the concept was even too difficult for me to know. It was just that I never cared enough to know it. So for me, that's what I'm hearing in the question that you're having. And the first question you should then ask yourself back is, do you really want to code? Because I think the answer to that question will help you answer everything else.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, also coding is not really about maths, obviously. It's more like problem solving, like you've said, which you have to grow into knowing how to do, not about sitting down and learning the language itself. Um, to also add to one thing you said earlier about, I think Shadrach asked the question. Sometimes our vision and goals are limited to the current knowledge that we have, which is what you said, that when you are a child, you said you wanted to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. But as you grow and you realize what it takes, or what you are limited to, or what you really like doing, that vision or that goal starts adjusting, based on the knowledge you now have at that particular time. So don't let your current knowledge limit be the extent of your vision. Okay, just keep going one day at a time and keep growing from there. As you gain more knowledge, your vision might adjust, your passion might change, your goal, your career goal might also be adjusted to the knowledge you now have. But just keep going and take one day at a time. That's an important concept. Another question we have in the chat, if once we run out of questions, we can end the call. Um, how do you deal with imposter syndrome? The feeling that learning one thing is not going to be enough.
So, I already said that. And of course, I know that Nigerian context might be a little different, but I see this play everywhere else. The real challenge with imposter syndrome is not even learning one thing. I know that Nigeria is the kind of place where, like, of course, there's challenges with like income security and things like that. So if you have an office job, you have to sell something on the side and all these things too. But tech is completely different than that. In tech, you will get more opportunity the deeper you go in the expertise in that one thing that you know. And in tech, it's not always only one thing. So let's say you've even learned everything to know as a developer, which I don't think is possible. You can start to take on, do you understand agile methodology, right? In terms of how you deliver product services and things like that. Do you understand what it takes to build the right technical requirements to build the right things? Do you know how to even get the best value out of product managers? Because a lot of times, for example, a product manager is telling you, this is the solution that we're trying to build. Can you ask the 3 levels of why to uncover not just why they want to build it, but their deep motivations? Because sometimes somebody is describing something that is a very multi-level architecture for you that is very complex. But if you ask them really good questions, you can find a way to use an existing service or an existing platform to actually achieve that same goal without you having to build something new, right? So those are very important. And it's crazy now. Now we're in this AI world where everything and their family and cousin wants to be AI, AI, AI. There are so many processes that don't need to be AI. And the more you know as a, let's say, an engineer, the more you can actually push back against some of those things and not waste your time building things that nobody really cares about and wants. Because let me tell you, the biggest frustration that I faced as a product manager, and I think a lot of engineers face, is building something that business says they want, but they don't really want, right? And you spend 3 months of status updates, all of these things, building that stuff. And eventually you still have to go back and kill that service, right? And deprecate it. So not only have you done wasted work trying to build it, you have to do wasted work trying to even make it go away. So I think get deep. And of course, to be honest, your knowledge that you can learn in just learning is very limited. A lot of the things that you will learn is actually when you get the job. So think about your learning is always in phases. You have to learn the skills. You have to learn how to apply to the job. You have to learn effective networking because even if I give you all these tips, it's still not going to line up that way. As you go and interact and like and comment on people's posts and DM them and ask them questions, you're going to learn, for example, oh, if I ask this kind of question, it doesn't work. But when I ask this, I tend to get a more positive response. So basically, your whole life is learning. That's what you've signed up to. So you're gonna again learn the skill, learn how to write a great resume, learn how to put up a great LinkedIn, learn, 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 learn.
Okay, thank you
Yes.
for
Oh,
that.
go ahead.
Yeah, as a follow-up to that question, somebody was asking what is the best way to tailor my LinkedIn if I have an experience in others in areas that are not tech related? What are some suggestions you can give, to that kind of person and others on this call?
I would say, for example, so I spoke with someone yesterday who had like a 3 week job and then a 2 month job. or something like that, and those experiences don't exist on their resume, on their LinkedIn, it doesn't need to be there, right? So only add things that are necessary. But for example, if you've spent 10 years of your last 10 years being a teacher, you are not going to remove it completely and just put learning JavaScript. Because this is the beauty. Imagine that an edtech company was looking for you. They are going to hire you both for your ed experience and your tech not so experience. But they know that when you come into that company, you bring a lot of nuance in developing curriculum, in working with students, in doing parent relations, in doing all of these things that is even very useful. But imagine it's not even a dev role. Let's say it's a product management role, or it's a sales role, or it's something like that. You already bring a lot of industry experience. And again, don't forget, tech is transforming every single industry. Or you've been a banker for 10 years, and now you might not know the best, you might not be the best in tech yet, but a lot of fintech companies will be happy to have you. Why? Because you understand bank regulation, you understand so many things. So it's not necessarily changing it. The only thing that I'll change is this, right? Let's say, for example, I can write my resume, my LinkedIn to use more. So, for example, let's say my generic teacher resume, if I'm applying for a teacher role, it's built curriculum, did this, did that. If I am a teacher now applying for a program manager role, I will use program manager language and program manager results. So, for example, as a teacher, you build this thing, you teach students, you whatever. But maybe you are also the head of the teachers association. So you organize. That's a product management role or a program management role. You communicate. You do all of the things that a typical program manager will do. I liked those skills, even though it's still within the context of being a teacher, right? So it's kind of like that. Of course, it doesn't always translate because if you didn't write code, you didn't write code. But I imagine that there are still some tech adjacent skills that people will look for in a team environment that you can use there. I think somebody had their hand up, but they dropped it. Please come back up to ask a question.
Yeah, it's possible you already answered, while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay, it's back. The dev brains.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. So my question is, like I've been in the tech space for a number of years, like writing code, started writing HTML like since 2013 when I just left school. So I've been in the space for a number of years, but I've not actually got a job, a tech job, but I just freelance here and there, build some small sites for clients I meet physically. So but I'm always scared trying to like get a job because I feel like there are other things that are actually needed in the professional workspace, like most of these softwares, like I see them talk about Agile and some other softwares I feel like they're actually needed in the tech professional or corporate working space. So I'm always being scared or skeptical getting a job, like applying for a tech job even. Don't know if there's any advice for me.
So, quick question for you. Do you believe that you deserve to work in tech?
Of course, very much. I feel like this is what I'm set to do for life, tech, coding.
So why, again, if you think about it, everything that you need is on the other side, right? So list all of the things. This is a very simple assignment for you. First of all, list all of the things that you think that you need to work in tech, but you don't have, right? Then start to cross off those lists, the things that are superficial, right? Or at least the things that you don't need at your level. Because oftentimes you're looking at somebody who is 10 years into their coding career. Go and review like 10 to 20 entry level roles and look at their common denominators and check off what you have and go learn the things that you don't have. And then start to apply aggressively. You won't get a job by just applying to 50 jobs or 100 jobs. Apply to a lot. All you need is one person to first take that chance on you. Because even if your first job lasts 6 months or 1 year, now you've had your first professional job in tech and you've already broken that duck, right? Of I need to work in tech. Because guess what? You now have done it. And you now have tech experience. So also add to your resume. So just, I think, make an action plan. That's kind of like the summary.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that. I'll call Muritala. Muritala.
Good evening,
I
sir.
do. Please
Hi,
go ahead.
how you doing?
I'm doing very much okay. So my question that I asked you earlier, I don't know if it has been answered. That's why I raised my hand. You spoke
Okay.
about applying for jobs, then you learn while on the job. Yes. So I was now asking that can we like also apply for internship? I mean, is it like we can apply for both, like either
Apply to
internship or normal job role?
so as long as the role is entry level and the role is an internship, don't make any distinction. Again, think about it this way. You will see a lot of roles that you qualify for and you apply to it and they won't call you. Again, I told you the role that I have is a solution architect role. In the same company, I applied to a lot of product and program roles that I'm very, very qualified for. I never got to call back. You don't disqualify yourself before they disqualify you. So don't think, of course, if there's an internship, because a lot of time internships are going to be geared towards college students or whatever. I don't know if that's where you are right now, but just apply to every single thing that's entry level internship, those kind of things. Don't discriminate. What you need
Okay.
most importantly is to work within a team, to work under pressure where now it's not like we're not building a fancy project. I have deadlines. They're paying me to do this work. Because that's a very different mindset from learning, training, building certification, all of those things.
Okay. What if it's not paid internship?
It's still, again, I know a lot of people don't like it, right? And it might be exploitative in some senses, but what you need is more important than what they're offering. You need that
Okay.
experience. Think about it. If and another tip I'll add on top of that, if you write a resume, you write a LinkedIn, you don't have to put that it's an internship. So you work there for 6 months, just put it there. Ada Tech, junior software engineer, finish. You don't have to say intern or whatever. And you don't even have to mention
Okay.
it in an interview. Maybe you can mention it. Again, it's not necessarily, you don't have to lie about it, but it's more like that's your experience now to take away.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we also touched on this last week when we said sometimes you have to also forgo the need to make some big money and go after the experience to build your portfolio and your projects. And people want to also see that you've been able to work in a team under somebody before, not just building your personal project on your own time. There's a big difference between the two, like Juwon already said. Okay, I'll call the last person now. Divine. Divine, are you there?
If you're speaking, you're muted.
Okay, sorry, good evening, sir.
Hey, good evening. How
Or
you
good
doing?
evening, sir. I'm hearing two voices.
Yes, there are two people here.
Okay, all right. Thanks. Sorry, I joined this one, and I wanted to know if it's more like a question and answer discussion, or was there anything discussed earlier? And I have a question I want to ask too. So, if there was anything discussed earlier, I don't know if you can do a little summary of what was discussed. And my questions are, um, most of the job vacancies I see, it's always like requirements. You have to study either computer science or any of the latest courses, and then well, that's one of the requirements, and then probably you would have a basic knowledge of software application or some programming languages and the likes. So what I'm asking is, to some who did not study computer science or related courses like this, is really be a barrier if they apply for such positions? Do you think they might be called?
So,
And my second,
mm, go
okay,
ahead, go ahead. No, no, I didn't know
okay,
you had a second question.
okay. And my second question is this: in the course of this um um training, there be a position whereby they are assisted with our CVs, like on how to write our CVs to be much presentable, because I know CVs are more like the first. since the employer has not seen you in person, CV tells more about you. So would there be an opportunity where we get help on how to make our CV more, how do I even call it, very okay for employers to always look at it, to give you a trial either to report for an interview or stuff like that. And thirdly, um, sure, I actually love coding, even if I don't have an experience. I just have a passion for it. And I see myself, I actually see myself, I have this, I don't know, I have this inner feeling that in the next 1 year, I should have more experience in coding. I don't even have this belief that coding is difficult. Even if I never studied computer science, I just feel something like that. But I got kind of pissed off when let's say someone I should identify as a senior programmer said no, a senior programmer like still learning. Like learning per se. How do I even put it? Someone I see that he has been into this for years and said still learning. Sure, I know everybody's still learning, but him saying he's still learning, it gives me that kind of mindset that it's something so difficult. Sure, I know there's no end to learning, but at a point you should know that it's last to an extent. You develop apps that are workable. Then, when you tell yourself you're still learning, it shouldn't be in the form of you're learning like people who are just starting. So these are my questions and these are my fears, per se.
Okay, I'm going to try to answer them very quickly. So, number two question, I think that's a question for Shay. Number one, and the other question that you talked about, I do believe that this session is recorded, so I think they will make it available to you later, just so that we don't take everyone back. And then your last question, I would say, don't. One of the easiest ways to fail in tech is to kind of like compare your journey to others, right? Don't really pay attention to what other people say, especially when it comes to like their learning. If somebody can be like, I've been 12 years in and I'm still learning and I'm not coding, right? Because again, I'm learning data analytics brand new. After this, I'm going to go do another AWS course brand new. When it comes to that, it's day one for me. But it doesn't mean that I'm a senior. I could easily be a director level product manager right now, right? So I could be very experienced and still be learning. So I don't really think that that's for you to make any judgment on your own cell phone. It doesn't matter. Have your goals. I want to be proficient enough in JavaScript to be able to do X, Y, Z. I want to be this to be able to do this. I want to be that to be able to do that. I mean, it's unrealistic in any other world if you think about it. Imagine, for example, an artist comes today and hears Burna Boy say, I am still learning, and he has won a Grammy and he's been there for 7 years or 10 years or something now, right? And he says, oh my God, I'm never going to make it because Burna Boy still says he's learning. Why does it matter? You are not Burna Boy. You're not trying to run Burna Boy. Burna Boy was learning year one. He's still going to be learning this year because he has to continue to evolve, right? There's a reason why Drake is reigning today and a lot of, I'm sorry, I'm making music references again, but I think we can learn, or we all know those things, right? There's a reason why Drake is still relevant today, whereas a lot of the rappers that he came out together are no longer relevant. Because what? He's still learning. So you don't know why. Maybe a better question is, why are you still learning, right? Because think about it. Imagine somebody who became a developer 15 years ago when PHP was the top technology. And now they say they are still learning because they are still learning Node.js or something like that, right? You don't know why they're learning. So that's not something to worry yourself about. Have your own goals, run your own race. You had a first question. I'm trying to remember what that was.
She said, will some jobs that require a degree before
Good. See, don't focus. I think it's kind of like similar to the third question. For example, as a product manager in the US, having an MBA is very critical. In fact, there was a guy who did an experiment with a fake resume. He applied to 100 jobs, right? He had, I think, Stanford MBA there. And he put top 3 tech companies, Google, Instagram, and one other company. Out of 100 applications, he got 29 interviews. That's a 3 out of 10. You know why? Because oftentimes they spend average 6 minutes on a resume. Do you know what they're doing? They look at the name, they look at the top 3 companies, they see Instagram, Google, Amazon, and then they see Stanford. It goes to approved. And then they kick. The challenge is this. Will I not apply to jobs because my degree is from Obafemi Awolowo University? I'm not going to apply. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I only have a bachelor's. I don't even have a B Tech or BSc. I have a BA. But imagine if I don't pursue my dreams because I don't have. So what? If I then have to apply to 2,000 jobs, then that's exactly what I'm going to do. So why are you worried about the thing that you don't have when you have the skill, you have the talent, you have the hunger and passion to learn, and maybe you're having certifications, you have this great community. Why? There will always be things you don't have. Even when you have everything, you will still not have some things. I think that's the answer to that. Focus on the things that you have and focus on the things that you can control.
Yeah. And if, for every job I've done, nobody has ever asked me, obviously my own part is a bit different. Nobody has ever asked me for any certificate I've ever had before. And this one I'm doing right now, nobody even cares that I have MSc or PSc or whatever. They just want to see that I can deliver the job. So I would say also go after those jobs that do. For me, I think it's a red flag if you are looking for coders who have some degree, honestly, for me. But, you should go after the jobs that really work for you and apply to those ones.
Yeah, and I know that we probably don't have any more hands and maybe we're trying to wrap up, but there were 2 questions that I didn't want to gloss over. If you have a job gap, how do you make up for that in your resume? Same answer. Don't worry about the things that you don't have. Focus on the things that you do have, right? So maybe your resume gets passed up more. There's a very simple solution to that. Apply to more jobs. So if it would have taken you 200 applications to get one job, now do 600. Simple, simple. Of course, maybe not as easy, but it's still a simple solution. Just apply more. See, ultimately, and I'll give a very interesting story. I met a college student here in the US. No, not college student. This guy graduated high school. He was 16 years old. He said he doesn't want to go to college because he doesn't want student loans, right? So what did he do? He said he wanted to work in VC, not even just regular tech, VC. And this guy applied to jobs, went to so many meetups. 16-year-old, 16, no college degree, no work experience, not even McDonald's. And then somebody said, oh, wow, you know what? We actually need somebody around the office to just help us do a few things, and we like you. And this guy got a job. 16 years old, only high school degree. Because let me tell you, how many 16-year-olds have you met who are very clear-eyed? He did it for 6 months. He was close to giving up. Like, you know what? Maybe I still need that college degree, but somebody took a chance. So maybe if he went to a Harvard MBA, maybe he gets it in 1 month, but he got it in 6. And guess what? He didn't have to go $200,000 in debt to get that job. So that's so important. Don't focus on the things that you don't have. Again, focus on the things that you do have. And it will take you longer than that other person. That's the only thing. So it's almost like if you think about tech investing, right? When you invest in I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but startups raise money at different rounds. When you're just building your startup and it's just a logo and a fancy website, that is usually what people call pre-seed. If you invest $1, then your $1 will get you more equity in that company. You know why? Because it's discounted, right? If you invest when they raise that seed round and they now have 1,000 customers, 1,000 paying customers, that is usually what you call either a seed round. Then when they have 10,000 customers, that's a Series A. Your $1 will probably get you a fraction of what you got in this thing. That's also the thing. The thing that you don't have is going to be some kind of like a discount. But it shouldn't matter, you know what? Because if you still apply yourself more and create more opportunities for yourself, you're ultimately going to find people who will take that chance for you. And then for this other question, is doing lead code challenges and hackathons necessary for entry-level roles? The answer is that it depends. If you're going to get jobs in institutional tech, so things like Microsoft and other big tech companies, you necessarily need lead code challenges to do data structures, algorithms, those kind of things. If you're trying to work at a startup or companies that don't take that importance, then it's probably easier. And my typical advice is this. it's always better to get a job first, even without doing lead code. So if you can go that route, it's better. But again, if you want to do it hardcore, I want to be great at lead code. There's actually a guy I had on my live stream. I think it's episode 5. He's a software engineer at Apple, my really good friend. So if you go on my channel, look for Victor Bolofide. He's also a Nigerian, and he talked about like the way to crack lead code. He says it's just about like 9 to 10 frameworks, and then you can find those online. But yeah, watch his interview on how to kind of like figure out lead code. So that's what I'll say. But again, it's probably better to go the route, even if you're going to learn lead code later. But if you want to learn it first, there's also nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. For the question Divine asked earlier, if we'll be helping people work on their CVs, yes, we have a course. If you've not enrolled for it by now, unfortunately, it might be a bit too late, but we have a course on the LMS that talks about CV reviews and helping you to prepare your CV for jobs. So do you have any other question you want to address before we end the call? Or any?
So I think the only thing that I'll say is that, again, in my presentation earlier, uh, I asked, how much do you want it, right? Ultimately, your career journey is in your own hands, right? So my question is, and you don't have to answer this one in the chat. Why do you want it? I think let that ruminate in your mind, because ultimately, what you want, or how bad you want it, will determine how hard you go for it. You have every single thing necessary. You have a great, again, this program is really great. I work with them. Yeah, amazing. You see the quality of people they're bringing to speak to you. So you definitely have everything to make it a success.
Thank you for those words, Juwon. Juwon will be sharing some resources with me, and I'll post it in the group when I have them. But this has been a great session with Juwon, and you can connect with him on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and send him a message, ask him a question. But he has a lot of resources on YouTube also, which I will be sharing some of them with you. And I think I've already shared some with you guys already. So you can go through his channel yourself if you want to, but I'll send to you some playlist that has some very useful interviews there. His channel focuses a lot on interviewing people who have gone through what you are going through right now, like the learning phase, the growth phase, the attempting to change a career phase. All of those things are on his channel. You can find a lot more information there. If you have any more specific questions for Juwon, you can either reach out to him on LinkedIn or Twitter, or send to me and I will forward to him. I have him on WhatsApp also. So if you have anything you want to ask him after this call, you can always do that. This recording will be available on YouTube latest by Monday. So you should have it on YouTube latest by Monday. I'll be cutting out a few parts, but mostly it will be the conversation we've had. I might cut out the first part where I was doing some welcoming messaging. Okay. So thank you all for being here, and it's been great to have Juwon here. Juwon, thank you for being here also.
Yeah, really great to be talking to you all.
And yeah, that will be the end of our call, everyone. Thank you. Juwon, I'll call you on WhatsApp shortly.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, sir.